Hey guys, welcome to Indie Game Hustle. My name is Charles, and in this video, we're going to take a quick look at how we can get our player to enter into different rooms and return to a very specific location after returning from that room. All right, so as you can see here, I have a little scene set up. I'm going to go ahead and hit play here so we can get a look at what we're going to try to accomplish here. All right. So we have our player who starts in a particular location here. And so when the player comes in here, he has a few different rooms to enter. In this case, we have a red room and a blue room. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go into the blue room. And as you can see, I've entered into the blue room. And so if we go back into the hub room, we exit, and then we are located right in front of the door that we would expect to be, as opposed to being where the game had started here. All right, so what we want to do is take a look at how we can accomplish that. Now, in the other videos that I've had, I think I already showed you how to create a player spawn, but we need to go ahead and continue to develop that player spawn now. So what we can do here is set up a room. So in this case, this is actually pretty easy. So all you need to do is have your player spawn, and in this case, this condition has a if the spawn point variable is equal to a number, instantiate your player character to the marker location. And that marker location is all built into this where this player spawn is located. All right. And so what you would do is basically go ahead and duplicate your player spawn as I've done here. I have one in front of this blue door and I have one in front of the red door. All right, and so the next thing we would want to do is look at the condition of the blue door, for example. And so if I look at that condition, we have a different value here. This value is 2, and the condition for the red door is going to be value 1. And then the original player spawn where we started this particular scene is going to be 0. And so what you want to do is make sure that if you have multiple player spawns in one location or one scene, then each player spawn has to have a different value. If it doesn't, what's going to end up happening is you're going to end up instantiating a player at each individual location, right? And so that's not going to work very well, at least. All right, so the first thing you do is create those player spawns and put those there. And then the next thing you would want to do is create a portal or some type of scene changer so that you can get to the respective room. So in this case, we'll take a look at this blue door. So if you see here in my hierarchy, I have a trigger created, and this trigger is just a simple trigger with a box collider. All right, and so I'll go ahead and zoom in on that. And here I've just kind of changed the size to kind of fit the door that I have listed here. It's pretty simple. And then for the actions, it's even simpler, is you just assign the variable that you want that spawn point to change to. And this number is actually representative of what's going to happen in the other scene. And I'll show you that here in a second. And then of course, the scene that you're going to needs to be listed as well. So in my case, I have a scene called blue, just like I have a scene called red and a scene called hub. Okay. All right, great. So let's go ahead and take a look at the blue scene and see what's going on in there. All right, so now that we're in our blue scene, it's kind of similar. So in terms of the door, we have a door trigger. I didn't name it, but we know what that is. It's a door trigger, and the action is assigning the variable, in this case 2, and then loading the hub scene. And this number, remember, if you're going through this door, the way this works is that it's changing your variable, and I'll just go ahead and open that up. It's going to change the spawn point variable to the spawn point that's representative in that scene, and that's going to be the spawn point that's listed right in front of that blue door, okay? And then we're going to load that hub scene. Now, in terms of this room, when you're going through the door that's inside the hub, we want to make sure that this trigger or this player spawn condition is the number that is matching what's coming through that door as well. All right. All right. So, and that's pretty much it. And so let's go back into our hub. All right. So now let's go ahead and set the same thing up we did for the blue, but for the red. All right, so let's take a look at what we already have. All right, so we have a player spawn in front of the red door, and you got to kind of think it through ahead of time. So the goal here is to go through this door, and when we come back, we want to come to this point. And so we want this point to be 1, okay? And then, so just keep that in mind. This is going to be the 1 spot. And then this door here, we want to go ahead and load the red scene. So we need to go ahead and set up the trigger, on player enter, action. We want to change the spawn point to whatever spawn point number you have receiving on in the red scene. And then we want to load that scene. All right, so I think we're good here. And just to make sure we remember that this spawn point is going to be the number 1. All right, and that's going to be important. All right, so let's go ahead and go into our red scene. All right, so we're in our red scene and we don't have any spawn points or doors or anything made. So let's go ahead and quickly make that. So the first thing you want to do is go ahead and grab your player spawn. So I'm going to go into my prefabs here, and then I'm going to go into my objects, and I think my player spawn is somewhere in here. Trigger player spawn, there it is. So I'm going to click and drag that out, and then I'm going to go ahead and bring that up. Now, as you can see, the arrow was pointing that direction. I want to go ahead and rotate that, so when we come into this room, that the player is going to be facing the direction that we would expect him to be facing when he enters a room. All right, great. All right, so the next thing we want to do is set the condition for this variable. So right now it's set to 1, and that's fine. We can leave that to whatever number we want, but as long as that number matches the door that's getting us here, right? So this value, we're going to go ahead and leave that to 1. All right, I'm going to move this down here. All right, so the next thing we want to create is a trigger to get us back into the hub room. So I'm going to go ahead and right click in here. We're going to go to game creator trigger. And where is that? Here. All right, so I'm going to move that closer to where we need it. Hit F to zoom in. And so as you can see, there's a sphere collider on here, and we're not going to use a sphere. We're actually going to add a component. It's going to be a box collider. And I'm going to move that box collider up in this stack. So I'm going to go ahead and move that up. And then I'm going to reshape it here just to kind of match our door. All right, and that's kind of like a door, basically a cube or a rectangle. All right, great. And so now that we have that, next thing we need to do is make sure that it's a trigger. Right now, if we were to try to go through this door, we would just run into a solid block. We need to go ahead and hit is trigger. All right, and so that's good. All right, so the next thing we want to do is change this trigger to on player enter. All right, and then the next thing we want to do is add an action. And so in this action, we need 2 actions. The first action is going to be a variable change. And we're going to do variable number, and we're going to look for spawn point. All right, and we want the spawn point to be, I believe, what did we say it was going to be? 1. So we're going to put 1 here. And then the next action is going to be a load scene action. All right, and then we want to load in the scene called hub. So I'm going to copy and paste this name, and I'm going to put that name inside of this value here. All right, great. And so now we have that particular name here. All right, perfect. All right, so now that we have that set up, this should technically work. All right, so just to go back and confirm, we have our player spawn here, and we have our trigger here. So that's all we think we're going to need here. So we're not going to start in this scene. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and hit save. Save project. All right, and just to confirm, this door is going to 1. All right, so I'm going to go into the hub room, and we just want to make sure that that door number matches this here. So we're going to go ahead and click on this, and that's going to be 1 as well. Great, so we have 1. All right, so let's check to see if that works. All right, so we have our player here. Let's head over to the red room. Perfect. So it looks like our player is now in this room, as you can see. coming from the hub room. And so let's go head over here. And now he's in front of that red door. And let's do the same thing here. All right. Great. And so it looks like that is working as intended. So maybe you're wondering, why is it pausing when we get into this room? And that has to do more with camera transitions and things. So if you want to kind of fix something like that, what we can do is take a look at a few things. So I'm going to go ahead over to go back over to the red room. And the first thing I'm going to take a look at is my player spawn. I have a condition here, and it currently has a wait. So I know that that wait is affecting how quickly the camera is transitioning to the player. This could be useful for many reasons, and there's a reason why I did this, but it's more in the main section of the game because of a lot of timings and a lot of things that are happening. But we can go ahead and remove that if you just want to see. And then I'm going to go to main camera, and then I'm going to change this to 0. Now it looks like it's already 0, so that wait was affecting how quickly the camera would transition to where the player is at, because the camera wouldn't transition to the player until the player was there. And because it took that 1 second for the player to be instantiated, once it instantiates, then the player is in the scene. So all of that stuff takes time. So that should be good to go if I just get rid of that. So I'm going to hit save, and we'll take a look at that again. And I'll go ahead and hit play. All right. See, there we go. So that second is gone. And so now our player's here, and they're there. All right, so I hope that wasn't too complicated. It's pretty straightforward, and you're just kind of using what's already built in to Game Creator, and it's a nice solve for being able to get your player around to different scenes and storing variables and switching things around. All right, so I hope that was useful. I'll have another video coming up soon regarding a few other things and some updates regarding just the overall platformer and what we're making here. So, but other than that, always remember to never give up and keep moving forward. Peace.